During every recruitment process, you will meet the HR for an interview. Reaching this step means that your resume stood out to the hiring managers and now you get the chance to showcase your skills. But how do you nail your interview and make sure to show that you have what it takes? Today, we are talking with Elodie, recruitment coordinator and human resources business consultant for our internal firm services. She will tell us how to prepare in order to shine during your interview, what her favorite questions are, and what you can expect after the interview. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Hi Elodie, thank you for joining us today. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm well, just waiting for the spring weather to get back to Luxembourg.
Hopefully.
Okay, let's introduce you to our listeners. Your name is Elodie. You are from Belgium, and before joining PwC Luxembourg, you worked as an intern at PwC in Brussels. You joined our team at the beginning of 2020, and since then you worked as a recruiter and now as well as the HC business consultant.
Exactly.
So, fun fact, she was the one recruiting me for this position. So, thank you again, Elodie. And today we're going to talk about...
A good recruitment.
Oh, thank you. But today we're going to talk about HR interviews. So I would like to ask you, how was your HR interview when you applied here at PwC?
Actually, it wasn't really an HR interview. It ended up like a technical interview as they will become my future colleagues. I would say that it was actually very interesting to be in the baskets of a candidate because it enables you to get the other perspective, I would say, and become better in your job.
That's the fun fact about recruiters doing HR interviews. Our HR interview is a technical interview at the same time.
Exactly. Usually, that's what happened.
Exactly. Well, is it true that you only have one chance as a candidate to make a good first impression?
I don't really agree with that. In my opinion, as a recruiter, we have to avoid bias and build a constructive and factual assessment of a candidate. Mm-hmm. I don't know what you think about it, but it would be too easy if we could say a yes or a no after only 20 seconds. It's totally different from CV screening, for example.
Yeah, I fully agree. And that's, I think, what people need to understand, that the CV is your entry ticket to the interview, but the interview is the place where you will be able to showcase your skills and give us a better impression of who you are as a person and why we would or should hire you. But yeah, we also agree that often the interview is one of the most stressful situations for a candidate. They need to sell themselves and prove that they are the best for the position, which is not always easy for everyone. So how do you try to put candidates at ease?
Well, I think it's very important to chat a bit with the candidate before the interview starts. For example, if the candidates come to a face-to-face interview, we can just ask him, like, how was the traffic, for example? I would say it's definitely a better way to start an interview rather than just like jump into the questions directly, like, hey, why do you want to join PwC?
Yeah. Exactly. And I don't know how you do it, but I usually also try to introduce myself, but also with some more informal information, just to allow them also to have the feeling of, okay, I know the person in front of me. I know that I can share some parts of myself I would maybe not share naturally, like I would not have thought about sharing this, but just to putting them at ease, because it's not like we judging the candidate, but it's like getting to know each other.
Yeah, it's a discussion. It's very important to mention.
Yeah, because the candidate also needs to know in the end if they want to work with us in the
Exactly.
future.
Fully agree with that.
And I think this is one of the most frequently asked questions by candidates. Do we have a plan pre-established before the interview what questions we're going to ask? And are we asking the same questions all the time?
Well, actually, I always address some key topics that are important to the firm and to the department the candidate is applying for. For the rest, it really, really depends on the position, the team, but also what the candidate will bring to the conversation. So we can't really plan how the interview will go.
But it's also linked to the fact that we prefer doing it like a discussion style instead of just asking questions, them answering, going to the next.
Exactly.
And you just told us that you like to address some key topics for PwC. What do you consider those key topics?
Key topics, I would say, very classic, but the motivation, the fit with the firm, with the multicultural environment, for example. And also sometimes the fit in one department is not the fit to another department. So I usually also assess that in the interview.
And also, for example, if you're more experienced and you already had a first job, like why are you leaving your company? Or also like, what are you going to miss the most about the company you're leaving? This can tell us also a lot about the candidates and what their values are and also the expectations for us as an employer. So we try often to assess multiple things by asking one question.
Yeah, exactly.
And Elodie, is there one particular question you like to ask?
Well, there is no specific question, I would say, but I always ask situational and behavioral questions. My favorite method is the STAR method. I guess you know it. So it's situation, task, action, and results. I really think that assessing candidates' way of thinking and reaction in concrete past situation is very useful. In psychology, we usually say that past behavior is the best predictor of future behavior. So I usually ask the candidate about a concrete situation that he experienced in the past. What was his reaction and what would he do differently, for example, in the future if this situation happened again?
I do the same. For example, I participate in a lot of events where candidates get to prepare like for the interview or just in general for the recruitment process. And especially if they're younger, like, okay, but what do I have to contribute? Because maybe I did not do a previous internship or I'm looking for my first internship. I'm like, you're getting a lot of those situational behavioral questions where we can just see how you react face to situation. And the perfect way to react is, okay, I analyzed your situation, I understood where we went wrong, I looked for open communication channels, for example, if it's like a teamwork or like a group project, and then, okay, what did we do differently and how we did it like in a concrete way with some concrete steps. This will show us like how you're reasoning, like how you... Also, if you're in the introspection, if you're able to see, okay, maybe I was also at mistake. And it tells a lot about the candidate. So even if you're a junior, you have no previous work experience, there's a lot you can share with us.
Yeah, and I also like to ask scenario-based questions. I guess you also know what I mean here. I usually present a concrete situation that can happen at PwC, and I ask them how they would react.
Yeah, so it's in the same way, but not them telling us how they did in the past, but
it's
how
past
they would
in the
react.
future, exactly.
Exactly. Well, now a little bit more difficult question, especially as a recruiter. We love the answer. It depends. It's our answer for everything. So in general, how many interviews do you have to do with candidates to find the right fit?
I really can't tell how many interviews we have to do. It really depends on the position first, on the market as well, and when the right candidate will apply for sure. Sometimes we can do 2 interviews and find the best fit, and sometimes we'll need to have like 5 or 6 interviews to find the best candidate.
Yeah, and often it's also a hard choice in the end because you have several maybe that could be a great fit, and it's just like a little small difference, and it's often a tough choice.
Yeah.
You already told us a little bit about how you assess candidates through situational questions, behavioral questions, but as HR, like where does your focus lay? More with soft skills, more with hard skills, like what are you assessing as HR?
As HR, we definitely put the focus on soft skills, definitely. Sometimes we also assess hard skills, like usually English. But regarding the soft skills, it's usually communication, critical thinking, problem solving, teamwork, for sure pressure and stress handling, leadership and management also when needed.
Yeah.
I don't know if you see something else, maybe.
Maybe how they receive feedback, like how do they handle difficult situations.
Also, yeah.
I think that's a big one, because especially if you want to grow and to learn, that's when you need to have those difficult discussions with team leaders or maybe also colleagues. So I think that's also an important part.
Yeah, there is plenty of soft skills that we assess during interviews, but for sure it will depend on the role itself.
Yeah, true. And also I like to assess the, let's say, expectations for working environment or just the team or leadership, just to get a feeling of how well they understood the company and the work environment that comes with being a Big Four. Just to see, like, did they maybe looked on a career side, or did they maybe... I have a lot of candidates, maybe also a tip for you out there, talk to people who are working with the company, reach maybe also out to them on LinkedIn, be like, okay, I applied for this job, I'm in the interview process, like, how is the team, how is it working there? Is there any way I could maybe prepare for the interview? Any insight tips? I have a lot of candidates who do that. And usually it's very well appreciated by the business, because it shows initiative and someone who's very interested in the position.
Yeah, and also like taking some information from our career website or podcast, for example, just to know how to prepare for interview.
I think that's a big one. If you maybe have a career center at your school, if you're a little bit more junior, usually they provide training, or they also do workshops. For example, we are also present at a lot of universities to present how to prepare your CV, how to prepare your interview, how to prepare your LinkedIn profile as well, because it's becoming more and more important. So you don't hesitate to reach out to your career center to check if there's any opportunity for you to get into one of those workshops.
Yeah.
And now a little bit more specific question for PwC Luxembourg. What does our recruitment process look like?
Okay, so first of all, if you apply to a position at PwC Luxembourg, you will be contacted by a recruitment assistant to schedule an interview. You will then get a technical interview with a technical recruiter. I mean, someone from the department you're applying for. And then this technical recruiter will discuss with HR, so with the recruiter in charge of the position. If it is positive, then you will be contacted again by a recruitment assistant to schedule the HR interview. Sometimes for some specific positions, it really depends on the position. There is a last interview with the partner or the head of the department.
Yeah, it's similar for the line of service I recruit for, and I think it's the same for audit and tax. Usually there are 2 to 3 interviews, and sometimes a case study based on the team. But do not worry, they will give you all the explanation beforehand. Like, even if you receive the case study and you have an hour to do it, you can ask all the questions to the person who is calling you. Even, like, let's say the test is on Friday, on Thursday, you still have some doubts about things. Do never hesitate to reach out to the HR, to the front desk. We are here for the candidate to guide you through the process and also take your hand if you're feeling a little bit lost.
Yes, for sure.
And let's say all the interviews are conducted. What is happening then?
So basically, the recruiter will debrief with the technical recruiter, and if it's positive, then you will get the final call from the recruiter to make you an offer to join us.
I remember when I got that email from you, Elodie.
Yeah,
and the title was PwC Luxembourg Feedback.
Yeah.
And you cannot imagine the stress I was going through. Because it did not say offer in the title, but feedback.
Yeah, I always do that, just to make this surprise, when I give the feedback, and also hear about the reaction of the candidate, like if he's happy and if he got some question already. Yeah, so I really like to do that usually.
You know what? I'm doing the same now as a recruiter. I'm sending PwC Luxembourg feedback. But I think it's the best moment for every recruiter when you can make an offer and the other person is so happy about it. I think that's one of the best moments ever in our career.
Exactly. I totally agree.
Okay. Well, thank you, Elodie, so much for joining us today. It was great getting your perspective on HR interviews.
Thanks a lot, Anne-Catherine.
That's it for today's episode. And if you don't want to miss out on our upcoming stories, Hit subscribe and feel free to share. Let us know what you think. Thank you for listening and see you for the next episode of Casual Side.